Between Games, supporting community sport. Proudly brought to you by GippSport.
Welcome to the Between Games Sports podcast, brought to you by GippSport. My name is Ryan Evans, and it's my great pleasure to be back in the saddle again for today's show. And I'm joined by my GippSport colleague, Brenton Dinsdale. Welcome to you, Brenton.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It's great to join you today, and obviously a very important topic that we're talking about, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is indeed. Today's topic for discussion is mental health and the positive effect that sport, particularly organised sport, can have on our mental as well as our physical health. I think that it's really relevant topic right now. Like I said, we've been putting up with restrictions to our normal lifestyles for just over 3 months, courtesy of the coronavirus pandemic. And it hasn't been easy dealing with many of the changes that we've had to make as a result of COVID-19. And certainly it has had a negative impact on the mental state or health of many people. What have you been seeing out there, Brenton?
Yes, definitely, like you mentioned, quite a challenging period of time. It does feel like it's been going for 3 years, but it has only been the 3 months. But for some communities, particularly East Gippsland, for example, they've had a bit of a triple whammy, I guess you'd call it. They've had drought for quite a few years, followed by devastating bushfires at the start of this year, and then COVID-19. So many challenges for everyone. That's just one example, one community that we're talking about. So definitely understand and appreciate that many local Gippslanders might not be in the best shape mentally. It's important that we look after them. So yeah, really relevant right now.
Yeah, for sure. Stress levels have definitely gone through the roof for many of us over the past few months. When you think about it, loss of community connection, financial concerns for many, and even just the risk of getting sick with the virus. A major issue, I guess, has been that one of the greatest relievers of stress and a chance to have greater community connection, i.e. organised sport, has been disallowed over the 3-month period. We are, however, starting to see some state sport and associations release their return to play guidelines, which can hopefully pave the way for many of us to get back in organised sport and enjoy the benefits that it brings. Which brings me to our topic for discussion today, the mental health benefits of playing an organised sport. We have a couple of great guests that we will be speaking with later in the show, Nick Walsh and Brendan McCartney, who are both representatives of the AFL Players and Coaches Association's Tackle Your Feelings program. I'm looking forward to catching up with both those fellas and hear more about how mental health program can help you. Before we get to them, though, Brenton, would you perhaps like to outline some of the benefits of getting involved in organised sport and why it's important now more than ever that Gippslanders get back involved in sport now that restrictions are easing?
Yeah, no problems, Ryan. I think most people would have an understanding, or at least some understanding, of the physical benefits of playing sport. So exercise can build stronger bones and muscles, help manage your weight, lower blood pressure and cholesterol, and reduce your risk of heart disease. But what you might not know is that there are some huge benefits that team sport can have on your mental health. So for instance, you just mentioned, Ryan, about being a de-stressor. So it forces you to apply yourself to a task and just sort of leave your worrying thoughts and anything you're worrying about just in the car or in the change rooms. You go out, you play your sport or you exercise, you kind of forget about it whilst you're doing that. So I guess it stimulates the release of endorphins, which are your body's natural happy chemicals.
Yeah, sure. I can understand that. And I've got to say, I've been missing those endorphins that you get from running around with your mates on the football field. What are some of the other benefits?
Yeah, well, next I'd like to talk about the social aspect that comes with being a part of a team is fantastic for your mental well-being. As an example, I was thinking, people that move away, they move to a new area, they may not have family or friends that live there. The best way to fast-track friendships is to go and join a team, whether it's attend training, go to a midweek netball or basketball competition. You just seem to make friends easier. And human connection, as we know, is such an important factor for maintaining good mental health.
Yeah, sure.
But being part of a team also provides a bit of a support network, whether you realise it or not. It automatically does, and also along with that, it teaches us the value of teamwork. So instead of reading about it or being lectured about it, sport actually forces you to put that into practice. Helps develop leadership skills that can be applied in all areas of your life, not just sport.
Yeah, absolutely. The value of teamwork is hugely underrated, I reckon. And as a supporter of the mighty Richmond Tigers, I can't resist the chance here to mention their 2 premierships over the past 3 years and how teamwork and trust between players has certainly contributed to that success. Anything else?
Well, we're going really well until you mentioned the Tigers. It's certainly a contributing factor, so I'll give you that. But yeah, I guess team sports also teaches you how to deal with setbacks, and people understand that not you're not going to win all the time, and dealing with a loss or a poor performance, you try and learn from it, try again, and it's all part of the journey. And setbacks build resilience, so this can be carried into your everyday life, helping you to navigate through the tough times and find a way through them. I was also just thinking personally, not only losing, because you can get away from that, but injuries, things like that, it builds your resilience as a person. You come back hopefully bigger and stronger than what you were. Also, playing sports helps you to get a better night's sleep. So we all know how important sleep is to our overall well-being. Generally, after training or competing, hopefully your mind and body are ready for a good night's rest.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Brenton. You've mentioned some really positive benefits of getting involved in team sports in particular, and I'd like to reiterate to anyone who might be listening out there to get involved in organised sport as soon as you can. It could be just the thing you need as we come out to beat those self-isolation blues. So thanks, Brenton, for going through some of those benefits with us.
No worries at all.
Okay, it's now time to have a chat with our two guests for today's program. First, we have Nick Walsh joining us. Nick is a program manager for the Tackle Your Feelings program, which is a mental health training program for community AFL clubs. Nick is from Ireland, moving to Melbourne at the age of 17 to play Aussie Rules Footy. He spent 3 years on the list of the Melbourne Football Club before returning to Ireland and playing captain county team Cavin for 9 years. Nick also represented Ireland in international rules football against Australia before returning to Oz in 2011, where he coached at the Giants in Sydney for 7 years. Through Nick's playing professional career, he has dealt with the roller coaster of pressures that this professional industry portrays, and certainly understands how pressure can have a negative effect on people's mental health. Joining Nick is Brendan McCartney, who most of us would remember as the senior coach of the Western Bulldogs between 2012 and 2014. Brendan started coaching at the Newtown and 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐤 Football Netball Club before being appointed as head coach at Ocean Grove. Here he guided the senior team to 4 consecutive Ballerine Football League premierships from 1994 until 1997. And in 1998, he took a role with the AFL Club Richmond as assistant and development coach. And then from 2000 to 2010, he was assistant coach with the Geelong Football Club before moving to be forward line coach at Essendon in 2011. Shortly after the conclusion of the 2011 AFL season, Brendan was appointed as the new senior coach of the Western Bulldogs. Brendan joins us today as a facilitator of the Tackle Your Feelings program. So welcome, Nick and Brendan. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Mike. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, fellas, we might start by asking you to give us some background around the Tackle Your Feelings program. Nick, if you could perhaps let us know how the program came about.
Yeah, definitely. Look, like a lot of these programs, through tragic circumstances, mental health programs evolve. And back in 2015, when the relationship between Zurich Insurance, who is our prime funder, and the AFL Coaches Association began to grow on the back of the tragic death of Phil Walsh, who was the head coach of Adelaide, who Mac knew quite well. And back then, they sort of established that there was a link with Zurich Insurance and that there was grant aid available to build programs such as Tackle Your Feelings. And what we've done over the last number of years is, through the Coaches Association, partnered with the AFL Players Association, who had a program in mental health. And what we've essentially done is taken the best pieces of that program and placed it into a community setting program to roll out into both regional and rural areas all around Australia.
Oh, sounds good. And Brendan, when and how did you get involved, and what are your thoughts regarding being involved in a mental health program like Tackle Your Feelings?
Probably firstly through coaching, Ryan, over a long time. You start out as a coach and it's almost entirely about what happens on the field and what they produce at training in terms of output and wins and losses on the field. And the longer you stay in the game, the greater appreciation and understanding I think you have for it. It's not so much as a coach being knowledgeable in the game or understanding the game or having the best drills or being able to teach it. It's the relationships you build with your players and people, and in particular in country footy, the capacity to build relationships with all in the club, the junior parents, the junior coaches, the junior players, the ladies who make the dinners on Thursday night, the long-time supporters who supported the club, the sponsors, the townsfolk. It's an ability to do that. And a lot of that's based on having a lot of respect for people and understanding them as people and then being able to encourage them, and that fosters the relationship. And then you're in a position to be able to coach. And until you've got that, and it seems, in particular in the modern world, until you've built those relationships and have built them on respect and encouragement and being a good listener and a good positive role model, then you can go about coaching. And the older I've gotten, the longer I've coached, the the ability to build those relationships and understand people and respect them for who they are, that helps you coach and build teams, and marrying the mental and physical aspects of the game are so critical. In particular, young people who are more often not finding their way, just not on the footy field, they're trying to find their way through relationships, through their identity, through careers, through juggling social pressures to do things that might be the best for their footy, but balancing all that out, it's really important.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned the different groups, and you've obviously coached a variety of different age groups from community to a professional level. How important do you think it is for a coach to get to know their players, regardless of the level of competition, and have conversations about mental health with them?
It's critical, and more critical is to do it in your way. We're all wired differently as coaches and as players, but central to that is actually understanding them as people, and you'd best do that watching and observing and asking questions, and often players will guide you with the level of interaction that they want. They'll interact with you straight away. They'll seek the interaction, or they may take some time. And it's almost the unsung art of coaching is to know, and not so much which button to push, but understand the reaction you'll get if you do push a particular button. So really important to build, as I've said 3 or 4 times, build relationships, but do it in your way. There's not one way that fits all.
G'day, fellas. It's Brenton here. This might be a question for Nick or perhaps both of you, but what does a program actually entail? So if we have a Gippsland club that really wants to get on board and get involved, what's the actual process behind it, and who can be involved? Is it just for coaches, or is it just for presidents or any members of the club?
Yeah, great question. Look, originally Tackle Your Feelings was designed just for coaches, but what we've done is sort of open the doors to anyone that really has an impact on the playing group. And that's essentially, people who, make food, people who have relationships with these players. One point to note that keeps coming up is the logistics of the kit man, because, as a player or an ex-player, you have a relationship with these sort of people all the time. Yes, the coaches are very important and role models behind the whole thing, but there's a whole other world of people in footy clubs, including presidents and board members. But anyone that has that impact and that relationship with the playing group is an important part to and can contribute to doing this program. In relation to what the program offers, I guess there's a number of components on sign up. We have a brief 15-minute intro module, which is we call the 4 cores of mental health awareness. Once you do that, it should take around 10 or 15 minutes just to basically introduce you to the idea of mental health and how it relates to football. The next phase is our virtual or face-to-face session, which is starting on tomorrow night, Tuesday night the 16th, for all Gippsland clubs. And we'll be running these sessions over the next coming weeks into July for the clubs in the region. And essentially it'll be a Q&A with Macca for 30 minutes. So me and him will sort of bounce a few ideas off each other around footy for the locals. And also then we get into the crux of the program, which will be about an hour in terms of mental health training for the clubs. In the training, we cover 3 modules. 1, understand, 2 being recognize, and 3 being managing signs of mental health. And all these are interactive discussions that we have internally. We use Zoom as a platform, so everyone will be online for that hour or so in terms of the rollout of the delivery. Post that, then there's a deeper dive, and if coaches and club members want to do a little bit more, they've got 3 20-minute online modules, which is a deeper dive into their specific coaching strands, whether you're coaching junior, youth or adult, because what we've done is looked at the prevalence of mental health and sort of equated that to the specific coaching groups as well, right throughout the ranks of AFL coaching. So all in all, the program takes, a couple of hours to complete, but this week's session will take about around an hour and a half with Macca's Q&A, starting off the whole campaign.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I know that Evo and I, not with just our GippSport tops on, but as a local coach and a local president, we'll certainly be jumping on and hopefully picking up some tips that we haven't already heard of within our work. So really looking forward to the sessions. Obviously, you've chosen Gippsland as a region to focus on over the next few weeks, which we're thrilled about. But was there a particular reason why you chose Gippsland?
Yeah, look, we were really keen to work with areas that have struggled as of late, and pre-COVID-19. We were looking at working with areas that were affected by bushfire, and in relation to that, and obviously developing the relationship with Ryan, he's obviously given me a further understanding of the drought affected areas in the past. And then obviously, COVID-19 pandemic crept in, and everyone was hit by that as well. So we're really keen to work with areas that have struggled and that are looking at ways of sort of clawing their way back to being successful again, I guess, or just being part of the community. And we feel the football club and the netball club is a vital part of the community, and hopefully our program is simply giving them simple tools to help them get back on their feet.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think last one I'll throw at Macca. You mentioned, we're just talking about Gippsland, and in particular East Gippsland. They've kind of had a bit of a triple whammy of late with the bushfires at the start of the year. There's a drought, which is ongoing for years, and also COVID as well. So as part of this process, particularly those small regional communities are struggling, as are a lot of regions in Gippsland. So what can this program bring to Gippsland clubs to support them through the tough times?
Well, I think Nick touched on it really well, Brenton, around supporting one another and recognising changes and differences in one another, and not necessarily waiting for it to happen until, I'm thinking, gee, wish I'd known a bit earlier, I could have done something about it, and actually probably looking outside your own shell and your own vacuum a little bit. And that's what great clubs invariably do. Great teams invariably have a lot of people who look out for one another, and their first inclination is to do something for teammates, do something for the team, do something for club. That's a philosophy of mine for a long period of time, is that the great clubs are full of people who do take care of their own job or their own role in the field, if they're a coach or an administrator or a player. But more importantly, they belong to a committee or belong to a team on the field. And then overarching above that is that they belong to a club, whether it's Hayfield or Newtown, or it's the Geelong West Giants or the Greater Western Sydney Giants, or the mighty Richmond Tigers who are on top of the tree at the moment. Invariably, that's what great clubs do. And that doesn't necessarily transcend into premierships or being the most dominant organisation in a region. They're great clubs because fundamentally they take care of each other. The beauty of this program, where I fell in love with it, is the simplicity of it, and the relation to football, and the vital opportunity we have to help them who are affected by life in so many different ways. We all have our... And sometimes it's a good thing to have obstacles and struggles in our life, because it makes us the people we are. But sometimes, just as important, we need people to help us through, and that's what this program offers. The simplicity and the support structure is super.
Sounds good. Just a couple more questions from me, fellas, before we finish up. I was taking a look at some figures in regards to mental health and suicide over the weekend, and was stunned to discover that mental health issues are on the rise in Australia, and suicide is already the leading cause of death for Australians aged between 15 and 44 years of age, with suicide rates in rural and remote areas being higher than most cities. Is this the reason for targeting regional football and netball clubs, given the country and the age demographics?
Just one of the reasons, Ryan, I guess, is that mental health is becoming an epidemic in Australia. As you mentioned, as you alluded to the stats there, 4 and 5 people are suffering with an issue around mental health, and 1 and 2 in their lifetime, and 8 suicides a day. And as you mentioned, around rural and remote areas, there's actually been less provisions being provided to rural and remote areas. And one of our passions is around this program is bringing this program, yes, to metro regions, but also to rural and remote areas to help them, because we know, footy just doesn't, it's not just played in the cities, it's actually played more in the country. So what we want to do is be able to go back to places of origin where the likes of Macca's from, and the greats like Wayne Carey and all these great stars of the game, and deliver our program in line with the Players and Coaches Association, and help communities basically benefit from understanding mental health a little bit better.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and just to finish, where can club personnel get more information regarding the program, and how can they sign up?
Yeah, it's simple sign up. They can jump on our website, tackleyourfeelings.org.au, go through a very, very simple sign-in process, simple register top right-hand side, and go through the process right through there. It should take about 30 seconds. All GippSport and Gippsland, Gips Footy and AFL Gippsland have posted on their Facebook and social media pages I've seen it all weekend, so great work that everyone is doing to raise awareness of the program in the region. All the links are provided on there. Mac himself provided a little how-to video, how to sign up, and trust me, guys, if Mac can do it, you guys can do it in terms of signing up, because he called himself a technological warrior. No, it's great that we have Mac on board, and one of the reasons, and Mac probably didn't say this at the start, is he's very passionate about this area. And when he sort of stood down from coaching at the end of last year, you know, I was looking closely to have Macca involved in our program, because he brings, yes, a wealth of knowledge to the coaching field, but also a wealth of knowledge to the amount of people he's engaged with over the journey over the last sort of 20, 30 years. So we're so indebted and so glad to have Mac on board for this program. So it'd be great for everyone to jump online starting tomorrow night, the 16th, and Mac will be available to answer as many questions as he can in that time before we start getting into the program from about 6:30 onwards. So we're beginning at 6 p.m. Please register ASAP so we can get the links out to you and do our due diligence around that, and hopefully see you online beginning tomorrow evening, 16th of June.
Yeah, sounds great. And as well as the session on the Tuesday night, there's 2 more online workshops yet to run. We've got one on Wednesday, the 24th of June. And if that date doesn't suit you, Tackle Your Feelings we run a second workshop on Wednesday, the 1st of July, with both workshops running between at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Well, great to chat with both you fellas today. Thanks again, Nick and Brendan, for making yourself available, and good luck with the upcoming Tackle Your Feelings workshops.
Cheers, Ryan, and thanks for all the support you guys are doing in the local region as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I hope you have quite a few clubs get involved. It really is a worthwhile program. So, yeah, looking forward to getting involved ourselves.
Thanks, Ryan, Brendan. Fantastic.
Thanks, guys.
So that's a wrap, everyone. Thanks again to Nick and Brendan for joining us today. I found it really interesting to hear more about the Tackle Your Feelings program and how beneficial it can be with clubs that choose to get involved. Brendan, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, very interesting to chat to those two guys, and obviously a very important program which we encourage all Gippslanders to get involved in, and Gippsland clubs. It kind of sits really well for me. Amelia and I in our next podcast have a chat to a premiership captain coach of the wheelchair AFL team from Collingwood Football Club, Brendan Stroud, and he mentions quite a few times in his chat around how sport has saved him and his mental health when he's been struggling. It's giving him a reason to breathe. So a lot of people are starting to talk about it, and which is really good, because we need to look after our mates.
Absolutely. So looking forward to hearing you guys do that episode. So until that next episode, a shout out to our listeners. Look after yourselves and make sure you're looking after your own mental health, and we'll see you again soon.
For more information on Between Games, visit www.gippsport.com.au. Between Games is supported by Vic Health and the Department of Health and Human Services. GippSport, supporting community sport.